Dr. Richard Laws, and I do two things in Oxford. I'm a medical doctor and a psychiatrist, and I work in that capacity at the University Counselling Service in Oxford, seeing students. But I'm also a member of the English faculty. I'm a tutor in English at Oxford University. So my cases are devoted to reading and writing, which are two of the things that Burton mentions in the Anatomy of Melancholy, as things that might help with melancholy or depression. And nowadays we might talk about therapeutic reading as bibliotherapy and therapeutic writing as scriptotherapy. Reading and writing are pervasive in Burton's Anatomy of Melancholy. I think it's rightly been said that it's a book made up of readings of other books. He constantly quotes some things that have helped him. Burton was a chronic depressive himself, and he says that he wrote the book to ease his mind. He said he had an imposthume in his head, which he had to get out by writing it. So the ideas that we would associate with scriptotherapy now are very much there in the Anatomy of Melancholy. I think people who love the Anatomy of Melancholy see it as a lifetime companion, and they keep on rereading it. C.S. Lewis said that it was one of the books he liked reading with food when he's eating. He says it's a gossipy, formless book, perfect for the dinner table. This is certainly true of Samuel Johnson, who was reading it in the 18th century, said it was the only book that would get him out of bed 2 hours before he wanted to. He was also a depressive, and he found the Anatomy of Melancholy really helpful from that point of view. I encountered the book actually early in studying English literature as an undergraduate, so I kind of encountered it before I had as much psychiatric knowledge as I have now, and I found it a very entertaining book. I loved his lists of things, his enormous encyclopedic way of going about things. But I think since I've gone much further in psychiatry and treated so many people over the years with depression, which more or less corresponds to what he means by melancholy, I think I've appreciated his book much more deeply because I've understood that he was onto all kinds of things that are now flourishing in modern psychiatry, things that we're getting interested in, things that we're exploring and researching. So it's a constant kind of dialogue between me and the book, I think, that I keep on coming back to it, learning more psychiatry, having more life experience, and then returning to Burton and his ideas. From a research perspective, I think it's taken me in some new directions. I think it's enkindled more of an interest in bibliotherapy and scriptotherapy, actually. Through doing the exhibition, I've learned a lot, and I think I've also I've experienced a lot of things which I think are supposed quite profound, in that I've been let into the lives of some very major authors like Mary Shelley, C.S. Lewis, Wilfrid Owen, and others. And I've had the very intimate experience of touching and looking at their manuscripts, exactly where they dip their pen in the ink, exactly what their handwriting is like when they're in the trenches of World War I, where they're in the throes of the most intense grief. That's been a very powerful, intimate experience. And I think it's enkindled much more of an interest in me in scriptotherapy and in bibliotherapy, which may carry on into, to some degree, some scientific research. We're all going to have times in our lives where we're at least sad and melancholy, if not clinically depressed. We're going to have times in our lives when we grieve. We're going to have times in our lives where we're anxious. And he writes about these things in ways that we can relate to. If we can sort of accommodate to the 17th century language, which is very beautiful in itself and interesting, then I think we can find great value in his book. So yes, everyone should go out and buy it.